I'm still alive. For the past year, I've been developing a world for my fantasy novel. I finally started writing the story about 4 weeks ago, but today I actually want to talk about how I made the kingdoms for this world. So this story takes place in the world of High-Strom and has 6 main kingdoms. Rantok the warrior nation, Andor the democracy, Bardor the worker nation, Falarin the land of magic, Hyrden the dictatorship, and Kultum the prosperous nation where all the main characters are from. The 2 main kingdoms, Kultum and Rantok, were once enemies, and they've been to war a couple of times, but now they're mainly rivals, vying for the top spot in all of High-Strom. Kultum is allied with the democracy Andor. They are the closest of partners and have had trade routes for centuries. Rantok and Bardor have a similar relationship, with the craftsmen and miners of Bardor providing the warriors of Rantok with the supplies that they need to maintain their vast army. These are the 4 main nations, all of which were founded around similar times, but there's 2 more to the east, Hyrden and Falarin. These 2 nations are the oldest and also the most isolated from the rest of the world. They were once part of the same nation, but then they broke off during a civil war. They remain enemies till the time the story begins, with the kings and queens of Falarin never able to agree with the emperors and empresses of Hyrden on anything. Alright, that was a lot of information that probably nobody but me cares about, but let me explain how I made these nations and how I continue to develop them. So the first thing I did was create the basic gist for each kingdom. What makes them unique from the others? A lot of them are tropey, like having a warrior nation, but I'm just here to have fun, so who cares? After that, I tried to figure out how these all came to be. The nations of the real world didn't all just show up one day, so how did these fictitious nations actually get here? So I spent more time than I'd like to admit actually crafting the history of these nations. It started out really basic, but then I just kept on adding to what I had. But 1,000 years of history has to end up somewhere, so next I had to create the current rulers of all these nations. And this is where I really started to have fun. This is the first time that I developed characters that the main story would actually focus on, so I felt a lot of pressure to make them good. I hope I did, and I came up with a cool method to do it. Essentially, I chose a basic archetype or existing fictional character to base all my rulers off of. I'll use the King of Falarin as an example. He's a pretty minor character, but I still wanted him to be interesting. So I thought of what a realistic depiction of a man using a traditional monarchy to rule over a nation of wizards with fantastical powers would look like. Think of all the problems that a normal fantasy leader would have to face, like bandits or collecting taxes. Now imagine these bandits can teleport, and an invisibility spell has just hit all the taxes in the kingdom. So that's why I decided to make King Duke of Falarin insane. Not quite completely gone like the Joker, but also past a charming level of insanity like Dumbledore or Arthur Eggford. But then once I had that, the rest of the character creation process was pretty simple. After just a few more minutes of work, I felt like King Duke was a real character, and I knew how he would respond to most situations. So yeah, that's a little look into how I world build. I don't know what my video next week is going to look like since I'll be on vacation, but I'll figure something out. Nate, I'll see you on Monday.